No Sex, Please, I'm Religious is a podcast that examines the things that are to do with sex shame. It's a fun but serious look at religious attitudes to sex over the centuries and the discrimination that many groups have suffered. Now, these have included people of all sexualities, faith and no faith at all. And proceeds from the podcast benefit LGBTIQ refugees in Africa and other places. So please support us if you value humanity and care about people before prejudice. I recently did an interview which is on the podcast called This Christmas, The Truth About Life for Queer Refugees in Kenya and Uganda. I did it with a friend that I've known for a couple of years and that we've worked with trying to help refugees in Kenya. Refugees primarily from Uganda, but also from other places. Onics, Kenya, Yusuf. Now, it was a heart-rending podcast. It was quite upsetting in many ways. I found it very difficult because his story is really horrible. Imagine your father coming to take you from the school that you've just been expelled from because you loved another boy, and you're 19 years old, and the father, his only remark is, "I wish I'd bought my machete so I could finish him off." How does love turn to hatred? So this is a shorter interview with Onics because I wanted to ask him particularly about sex shame in Africa. How do young people get taught about sex? Now, prior to the missionaries of various religions, including the Christian religion, but prior to their arriving in Africa, most cultures, most tribes were fairly accepting of what we today call sexual difference. And what they brought with them was an interpretation of scriptures that would lead to the total condemnation of people of difference. And today you have hate-filled preachers who preach this sort of message and seem to preach it with the belief that they're doing God's will. Terribly sad, but the interview I think you'll find very interesting. There's a bit of humor in it as well when you consider the girls that Onics has known in Kenya and Uganda learning their sex lessons from their aunts because their mothers are too ashamed to share. And the school won't share because they're too ashamed. And of course, church and mosque doesn't teach this stuff because it's not important. But when you silence an issue, I have a saying, which is that if it is not discussed, it becomes disgusting. And that's what happens. And so from sex shame comes all kinds of sex crimes, including abuse that can't be talked about. We're only just starting to learn that now. But so many women and so many men have been abused, mostly women, of course, but have been abused in all kinds of horrible situations, but have been shamed into silence. That is changing, not fast enough. I hope you enjoy this podcast, and I hope that you can support us because the work we're doing is very, very important. Let me introduce to you Onics, Kenya, Yusuf, now safely, we pray, we hope, in Seattle, in America, but he's talking with me about
we do learn sex. Mostly the girls do learn sex from their aunties.
Okay.
Yeah, when reaching maybe an age of 14, they are sent to their aunties in vacation so that their aunties can train them about it because eventually they will have to know about sex. So they don't, and our schools don't. They feel kind of shy to teach about sex at the early age. So what happens? The parents do send the kids, and the parents cannot talk to their kids about sex, so they send them to their aunties, the sister to their fathers.
Why do
Yeah,
you
and
think?
for us as boys, we're not sent to anybody to teach us. We just learn it by ourselves. That's what I would say. And mostly they do. In Africa, people do engage in sex acts at maybe at four. They start if they are. It's too early. It's at 14. But yes, 16, 17. Most of them already know what to do with sex.
So does that mean there's a lot of pregnancies, early pregnancies?
So many, so many.
Okay. So the question that I'm interested in is why is it too embarrassing for the parents to talk about sex to their children?
Yeah, because as I told you, the culture thing, they feel they feel kind of embarrassing. Like you start teaching your daughter who is 14 about sex or 16. That means that means you are sending them to start doing sex. That's what they think, that you are sending them
So
to go and do sex. But as I
so it's
said,
as if they think that,
even the aunties, they don't be encouraging them to do sex. They just teaching them kind of protection in case it happens. That's why even girls, they go to, by the time they engage in menstrual period, by the time they get their first menstruation periods, most of them be aware, because the aunties, this is the job for the aunties. They don't want them to panic and think they are dying because they are bleeding and whatever.
yeah.
So they train them at this age, maybe next year or another year, you will see something like this. So you don't be shocked. It's what women go through to know that you are now growing up.
Okay. One of the things with this podcast is that we're talking about sex shame. For people who have a faith, a Christian or a Muslim or something else,
Mhm.
then the belief is that God created us. So God gave us our ears, our nose, our mouth, all the different gifts and things that we have, but he also gave us our sexuality and our genitals. So why should we be ashamed to talk about these things? But in many cultures we are, and in my culture we still are, and in
Mhm.
America and lots of places. In America there was a culture which you may not be aware of, where in the churches they taught children, young people, not to date, not to go out on dates with boys, girls, not to go out on dates with boys, certainly not to go out with a gay person as a boy or a girl with a lesbian, and not to kiss or anything like that until they married. So you imagine the shame that that person is struggling with when on the night of their marriage. They've never even kissed their partner. So that's pretty weird. Let me ask you to finish, Onyx, just with yourself prior to your struggles that we talked about the other day. So I imagine you just learnt about sex from your school friends, maybe
Yeah, from
from,
school friends.
yeah, okay. In our countries, kids often learn about it from porn these days, pornography.
Okay. Well, in Africa, reason why there is one thing where, okay, parents keep hiding, they don't talk about it, but kids do learn about sex early at early age, just because of two things. One, peer pressure. Two, the need for good life.
Yes.
A
Yes.
daughter may be coming from a family where they are not well off.
Yeah.
When this girl is growing up, she needs to have a nice watch like friends have. She needs to
Yeah.
wear a nice shoe. She needs to wear a training coat or jacket. But she needs to do her hair to look good. But she cannot, the parent cannot be able to provide all that to this daughter. So there are boyfriends around or boys around who are promising her to do all those things for her. And of course, when boys are telling you to do that for you, in exchange, it should be love, and love should go with sex. So
Yeah.
that's
And
how they find themselves fall into traps. Like, yeah, I love you. I want to make you my girlfriend. I can buy you that nice phone. I can get you this. So, and then you need, in actual sense, this girl needs all these things the boy is mentioning, and then she will have to fall in a trap and go with this boy as a boyfriend and or maybe as a girlfriend or something.
it's
Yeah,
very,
that's why it happens that way. For me, I learned it from school, from friends around, because whenever you're growing up, you're interacting with people who are older than you a bit and
mm,
those who are younger than you. So when you learn from those who are older than you, and then you bring the same story to those whom you are older than to, and they also pick it. That's how it goes.
and it may be that if you learned wrong things, I'm not saying that you did, but if
Hmm.
you learned wrong things from older boys, then you might pass those on to someone else. So if the older boy, for example, says, if you want to have sex with a girl, once you understand what it is, then you find a girl who wants a watch or something, and
Hmm.
you find a way to get her the nice watch, then you
Hmm.
might get sex. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's sad,
That's
isn't
it.
it? So again, if sex shame was not an issue, then parents would be free to talk. My suspicion, which is I'm exploring in this podcast, is that because of the shame that comes in normal circles in families and so on related to sex, and we're talking, heterosexual sex primarily,
Hmm.
because of that, then it very easily extends
Hmm.
to homosexual relationships, which are perfectly normal, but they will be targeted because there is already sex shame for heterosexual people. There's a direct link.
Yeah, as I mentioned when we were studying for heterosexual sex, they will be tough at you, but when it becomes to gay or something like that, the same sex, they don't understand it at all. They don't get it in their mind at all. That's why it's so tough on those ones who always come out, or maybe actually in Africa, it's rare somebody to come out
Yeah,
because they know what will happen. So
yeah,
what we do, we just keep it as a secret until it reveals itself.
yeah,
Because
um,
you will not come out and then the family will not accept you, because the reason of coming out is to make sure that people accept you,
yeah,
but they will not accept you. So there is no reason of coming out. So what you do, you keep it hiding until it reveals itself. Because when you come out, that means you're reducing your chances of living on this earth, because you know what will happen.
you're reducing your chances of living on this earth. God,
Yeah, because
that's so
they
sad.
will find a way. They will find a way of killing you because they know, as I said, the older boys teach the young boys.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing. They expect if you come out and they accept you, your little brother will come out too. Your
Mm.
sister will
Yeah,
become a recipient.
yeah,
Everyone will be like, yeah, Onyx came out and nothing happened. Why not me?
yeah, yeah, I
So
get it.
then this family, if your father is, as I mentioned, a chief at the village or maybe at the county or something, he will lose everything, every
Yeah,
position. If he's a reverend, he will be expelled from that church if he ever accepts you. And if there is a meeting somewhere and people, men are having conversation, he cannot be allowed to say anything because they count him as a loser. You're a loser. How could you accept your son to say out publicly that I am a gay and You have nothing to do about that. Not only that, where the community comes in is that you're interacting with their sons and daughters. So how sure are they that you are not going to tell their sons how sweet is it being a gay, how good it is,
Yeah.
they expect you to teach them to. So that's why if your family cannot eliminate you, the village will find a way, the community, the society will find a way of eliminating you, because they know you are promoting homosexuality and they don't want it.
And the root of that, of course, is ignorance, because you don't make someone gay.
It's
people,
ignorant. They don't know. They just think you wake up and say, I am gay. From today, I'm going to be a gay. No. So for them, they don't know. That's why I said they don't understand. They hate you because they think if they don't hate you, or they don't kill you, or they don't chase you away from home, the whole community will hate them.
Yeah, if only they
And
understood.
another thing is, in Africa, it's different from, like, let me say US. In the US, everybody cares about themselves. Nobody cares about another. Like, it's them first, and then the neighbors, or maybe other people next. Of which in Africa, people do need each other because of what, 2 or 3 reasons. One, community, culture. Two, the governments are poor. They can't provide everything to every home, and they don't provide the jobs to every home. So you find yourself, you have started cooking, but checking your tin where you keep your salt, there is no salt. You have to go and knock the neighbor. Hey, please, can you help me with some salt? I've started cooking, but I can't go to the shop right now. The neighbor will help you with that. And in that, it means in Uganda, we call it Oluganda, like meaning brotherhood, kind of brotherhood.
Yes.
So if you ever do something wrong to the neighbor, if anything happens to you, the neighbor will keep themselves closed inside the house. They don't care.
Yeah.
That's why if I am in this house and let me say I'm in Africa, and maybe I feel like I'm suffocating, I can't help myself even getting a cup of water.
Yeah.
In Africa, what I do, I just knock. I can try as much as I can. Maybe I shout, or I knock the door, I bang the door so that the neighbor can hear and come. And they will come and say, hey, what's going on? Oh, he needs this. They will help me before they call police.
Yeah. Because your
But
community
here,
is community.
yes, but here they tell you anything, call police fast. Even if you call a friend, he'll be like, did you call the police? Can you please call the police right now? So you find that you need this neighbor than even the police, because in Africa, you call the police at 7 in the morning, the police will come at 9. So you will be dead. So the community should be there for everybody. So you find that you are you need to keep people around you happy with you and your actions.
Because you need them. Yeah, I get
That's
that.
why when we were growing up, if our neighbor could find me doing something wrong, maybe on the road, let me say they have sent me to buy some cooking oil at the shop, and I have the tin, but I'm playing football on the street. This neighbor will be like, hey, they sent you to buy that oil because they want to cook. Go home. He will start beating you to go home. And if you go home, you make sure you don't tell your dad, because you tell them, they're like, okay, what happened before they beat you? I was doing this. No, they cannot beat you if you don't do something wrong. You are giving a task to your dad to make sure that if he meets this man, a neighbor who beaten you up, you ask, yeah, my son told me you beaten him up. I think he was messing around. Yeah, he was putting the tin of cooking oil on the side of the road and playing in the middle of the road. So I had to let him go home. And when the dad comes back home, he will, okay, so when I send you to the shop to buy cooking oil, you put it on the side of the road and they start playing, he will add on that.
So you get
He will
beaten
also have
again.
to beat you. Yeah.
Oh,
So
dear.
what do you do if the neighbor could beat you? You just keep your mouth shut, because if you mention it, you're giving a task to your dad to go and ask what happened.
Goodness.
So they always say a kid is raised by a community.
That's a saying we have too, but it doesn't quite work the same way in Western cultures because, you know, we're such individualists. Onyx, I want to thank you very much for that. I will post your answer there because it's very, very interesting and it will be very helpful to lots of people. So once again, thank you very much to Onyx, who is now living, we hope, safely in America after some terrible years as an asylum seeker in Kenya. Yeah, and you're a good man. Thanks very much, Onyx.
Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it.